Hey everyone, on this rendition of Cuesta Dos, it's going to be Cuesta Uno with only me, David Cuesta. On this rendition, I am going to go over the NBA matchups starting off tonight, how the NBA is going to deal with the China situation, how we're going to watch it, the NFL, the standings so far, and who's probably going to be in the playoffs, and the officiating in the NFL, and how bad it is. Hope you enjoy the show. Hello, everyone. This week on Cuesta Dos, it's going to be Cuesta Uno. That's right, it's just going to be me, David Cuesta, here this week. Unfortunately, my brother could not make it this week. He is actually on vacation with the rest of my family. I was supposed to go. We're celebrating my mother's 60th birthday. But happy birthday anyway, Mom. Hope you're having a great time. Can't wait to see you when you get back. Now, I'm also going to be hosting Sports Opinions Podcast with Robert Planter this week. Robert Planter is another podcaster under the Sports Opinions umbrella. He does the playbook with Joseph Hackett. Go check that out. It's very fun. They have a great time over there. Now, on this week's episode, I want to talk about mainly the NBA and the NFL. It's going to be a short, quick bite of an episode, but it should be a good one. I'm actually recording this on Tuesday. Usually we record this on like Sunday or Monday, just give you a little behind-the-scenes look. But I went, if you're hearing this now, I actually went and got a microphone. A pretty nice one. It's going to sound a lot better than my PS4 headset that I've been using. Hopefully the podcast overall is better, greatly improved because of this. Now, jumping in, the NBA starts tonight. Starts off with two matchups that we're seeing tonight. The first matchup is the Pelicans and the Raptors, and the second matchup is the Lakers and the Clippers. Now, the Pelicans and the Raptors are a very interesting matchup because they're basically on two different spectrums. The Pelicans are a younger team. They have veteran players. They have good veteran players and like Drew Holiday, but they are a younger team. They have Lonzo Ball. They have Brandon Ingram, Zion, who is going to probably be a rookie phenom. Unfortunately, he's hurt to begin the season, but I think people are very interested. I'm very interested in seeing what they can become in a regular season, if they can come together and maybe sneak into the playoffs in that tough Western Conference. I believe that they can, if they can play it right and if they all progress. I mean, they have JJ Redick over there as well. They have a lot of good players. They just need to be able to get it together. And we'll see how that works out. We'll see how it works out starting tonight. In fact, they're playing right now as I record this, I believe. Now, on the other side of this matchup are the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors are probably the least favored defending champions in recent history, mainly because Kawhi Leonard left, as we all know by now. In fact, he left for a team in the next matchup, the LA Clippers. But the Raptors, you got to feel not slighted by Kawhi, but slighted in the fact that no one seems to take you very seriously. Like, I know some people, including my brother, say that he didn't even think they're a playoff team. And I can completely believe that people will agree with him on that. I believe they are a playoff team mainly because they still have a lot of good players on that team. Pascal Siakam just got a 4-year max contract, and he was a rising star basically at an all-star level by the end of that season. He was the second best player on that team by the end of that season behind Kawhi. It wasn't Kyle Lowry. It was Pascal Siakam. And he is probably just going to get better this year. And that'll be really fun to watch if he does. But they also have Fred VanVleet, who played like an absolute monster after his son was born. He came out and just popped off. And it was terrifying. It was actually terrifying to watch Fred VanVleet go to work. So he is a very stable rock for them in that team. You have Kyle Lowry, who's usually very good in a regular season. He is basically a perennial all-star for a reason. Unfortunately, he likes to shy away in the playoffs. He did show up more last year, but still, I think playoff Kyle Lowry is still probably a stereotypical thing for him. But they also still have Serge Ibaka. They have Marc Gasol. they have a lot of good players on that team, a lot of good veteran players that can make that team a playoff team in the East. This is the Eastern Conference we're talking about. They can 100% make the playoffs. Now, on to the next matchup. Next matchup is the LA Lakers versus the LA Clippers. A matchup that I believe a good amount of people coming into the season believe is the Western Conference Finals preview. Now, I can definitely see that happening. I think almost everyone can see that happening. Now, if it does, we'll see. But it's going to be a lot of probably load management for these teams. Injuries are going to play a big factor, especially if it's to one of the star players. Obviously, we have LeBron and AD over on the Lakers. Then we have Kawhi and PG, Paul George, over on the Clippers. Now, this is going to be very interesting to watch as this feud probably builds for years. I don't know how much longer LeBron's going to be in the league, but he's going to leave it as a rivalry, and probably he might walk away with another championship. But it's the big brother versus the little brother. Will Kawhi and Paul George be able to take the little brother and go get a championship? Go show at least some kind of even stature with the big brother. You're not going to become big brother. It's going to be a Lakers town, especially with all the history there. It's always going to be a Lakers town. But you could definitely hang some banners in there, and you can definitely at least make your presence known. People will go to Clippers games just as much as Lakers games if Kawhi and PG can pull off what they're trying to do. And I mean, anything goes with this matchup. Literally anything goes. I think the main thing that's going to really be the difference in this matchup later on in the season, if they meet in the playoffs, is going to be the injuries, is going to be who's the healthiest at that time. So this is a very fun opening night. It shows different teams. I think the Pelicans Raptors wasn't really expected, except for, it's the Raptors, the defending champs, and the Pelicans are just a fun team. So I like the way the NBA is starting off with their matchups. Now, the NBA is not going to like the way they're starting off with their, I guess I can say, politics of the situation that started in the preseason. Now, as you all may know, especially if you listen to this, the NBA has a bad China situation going on. Daryl Morey, with the tweet, basically set a fire in the NBA. Like, he just threw the match in a gasoline-covered arena, and now the NBA is burning with China, with Chinese fire. It's something that's really going to haunt the NBA this whole season, I believe. And I think that's something that we really should keep an eye on, especially how they're going to continue to deal with this. Because people are going to continually show up with pro-Hong Kong shirts, pro-Hong Kong banners, pro-Hong Kong signs. They're going to do everything in their power to let the NBA know that they stand with Hong Kong, and let the NBA know that they believe, as do I, that the NBA is standing on the wrong side of this right now. I think siding with China is never a good idea, especially when it comes to a human rights issue, because this is a human rights issue, and it's something that's really going to haunt them, and it's something that, as NBA fans, we're really not going to be able to look away from. The NBA is not going to be able to look away and shy away from this. So it's going to be a part of this whole season, just like Kaepernick was a part of the whole NFL season that happened, and honestly still a part of the NFL. This Hong Kong situation is going to be, this Hong Kong-China situation is going to be a part of this NBA season, and probably seasons after it, if things aren't settled or done correctly. And honestly, what is correctly? I don't know what it is. I dare someone to give me an answer. The NBA is in a very tough spot right now, and they dug themselves deeper with how they reacted immediately. So the NBA is going to be it's going to be a very fun season in the NBA this year, because we finally got parity back. It's all basically duos now. There's no big three really. It's all duos. It's going to be a fun time. There's a lot of teams. Honestly, the closest team you could probably say to a super team maybe maybe like the Sixers. Obviously, the Clippers and Lakers you want to throw in there, but the Sixers are is a behemoth team. But I mean, they can't have from outside the perimeter. So we'll see. There's a lot of strengths and weaknesses to every single team this year. The parity is finally back. It's something I think a lot of NBA fans wanted to see, even though the Warriors dynasty. We'll look upon that as maybe not a great, that people might not see as a great time in basketball, but it's going to be a great team. We're going to say that we're thankful to watch the talent that was on that team throughout those years. And who knows, the Warriors they're probably still going to make the playoffs because they still have a lot of stars on that team. But I'm going to move on from the NBA to the NFL. Now, the NFL is a good amount of way through the season so far. It's almost halfway, honestly. And right now, the standings are shaping up. We're starting to see who's looking like they're going to be our playoff teams. I want to go over that with you guys. Now, so far in the AFC, we have obviously the Patriots undefeated. They're at the top. They're the number 1 seed. Then the Buffalo Bills are right under them at 5-1. If you told someone that the Bills are going to be 5-1, I don't think they would believe that, honestly. But they're playing very well. That defense is stout. The Buffalo Bills are a pretty spooky team. Next, you have the Kansas City Chiefs at 5-2. Then the Chiefs are the Chiefs. Patty Mahomes, hopefully he comes back soon. I know it wasn't as bad as it looked, the injury he had sustained. So hopefully he comes back soon enough, and the Chiefs can keep rolling and be the Chiefs that we want to see them be. Then we have the Baltimore Ravens afterwards. The Baltimore Ravens are an interesting team. That defense is still good, maybe not as good as it was, but that offense can be very scary if Lamar Jackson can consistently throw the ball. I know I'm probably sounding like people might think I'm sounding like somewhat of a hater of Lamar Jackson. I'm not. The first 2 weeks, he looked good. He looked very good throwing the ball. Those are also against very bad defenses. Now, he has not looked as good throwing the ball recently. He got ground player of the week, which is, hey man, he does extremely well on his feet. He is a nightmare for defenses because honestly, even if you have the spy on him, he's probably going to make the spy miss. So it's really a struggle to find out what you're going to do against him. But if he can't connect with his receivers, especially deep, his deep accuracy is not that good. If he cannot connect consistently, this team, I think they're going to make the playoffs, but it's going to be rocky for them. They're really going to have to play well. They're going to have to play near perfect against certain teams in order to win. Next, we have the Colts. I think the Colts are at 4-2. The Colts came into this year, I think I had them as a pretty good, likely Super Bowl team because Andrew Luck's outstanding. And the rest of the team is a great team. They built a very good team in Indianapolis. And, Luck retired. I think a lot of people jumped off that bandwagon. I always thought Jacoby Brissett is at least he's an A1 backup. He's a fantastic backup. And he played well starting when Luck was injured. So I thought the Colts would still be a good team. I didn't know if they would be great. Jacoby Brissett has come in and done extremely well for the Colts. He's not Andrew Luck, but he's definitely paving a way for himself. He's showing he can do it as a starter. He's showing that the Colts look like a playoff team right now. They look like they completely deserve to be a playoff team right now. That defense is good. Darius Leonard's back. He's terrifying. Malik Hooker's terrifying. There's a lot of very good players on that team. Marlon Mack is a good running back. He can get you a lot of yards. T.Y. Hilton is always scary wide receiver. He's going to catch the ball everywhere. He's going to make moves. And the Colts are a playoff team, and maybe they're not the same Super Bowl team that I had them pegged as coming in, but I wouldn't be surprised at a run by them. They're a very good all-around team. Next, we have the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans are the last in this list. They're actually sixth. And they're an interesting team. Deshaun Watson has come out absolutely disgusting. The kid, they ask him to basically tell him what they see on defense and as a post-game press conference, and he rips apart basically a defense, tells you exactly what he's seeing, exactly what he saw. And he is coming out and whipping the ball around. He is playing extremely good football. Deshaun Watson looks great. And the Texans, this happens all the time for me with the Texans. I feel like they should be better than they are. That defense underperforms for some weird reason. I don't know why that defense seems to underperform. They look like they should be a better defense on paper. But I mean, you on offensively, they're near unstoppable. Will Fuller can take the top off of any defense if he can catch the ball. He dropped 2 touchdowns before, and I believe last week. No, the week before. He dropped 2 easy touchdowns. But Will Fuller can take the top off of any defense. DeAndre Hopkins is arguably the best receiver in the game right now. Duke Johnson Jr. and Carlos Hyde are a great running back tandem. So the Texans can be a very good football team. It just seems like this happens every year with the Texans. They seem to be consistently inconsistent. I don't get it. I don't get how you can be that. It doesn't make any sense, but that's what they are. So you never know entirely what you're going to get for them. You're probably going to see a lot of scoring, but you might not. There's weeks where it just doesn't look good. And hopefully the Texans break out of that this year. They're 4-3 right now. I expect a better record from them with the team that they have. But that is the playoff picture. The Bills are going to be 5th seed. Obviously, they're an East team, and the Patriots are the 1 seed. But that's basically the playoff picture right now for the AFC. I don't see much changing. Honestly, those 6 teams look like the teams that should be there. Under that are the Raiders, the Jaguars, the Titans, all teams that I don't believe can get it done. The Raiders are playing a lot better than we probably thought they would coming into the season, but they're not a playoff team. The Jags, Minshew Mania, he's playing extremely well for a rookie, but it's not enough. They're not going to be a playoff team. Titans are inconsistent. Marcus Mariota got benched. So Ryan Tannehill came in and played well, but there's a lot going on there. The Browns, they were hyped. They're not looking that good. Maybe they can surge if they can get it together, but I don't see it. I don't see it right now. The Steelers are in a bad way. The Broncos, the rest of them, they're all low-tier teams. They're not going to make any push for the playoffs. Honestly, that top 6 kind of looks like what it's going to be, unless, honestly, like the Browns make a surge or maybe the Raiders or Jaguars. Other than that, I don't see much difference here. That it's going to be those 6 teams, maybe switched around in the seeding, but that's how it's going to be. On to the NFC. The NFC is going to be a fun time. The 49ers are the undefeated team in the NFC. If you asked anyone if the 49ers are going to be an undefeated team, they probably say no. I would have said no. I would have thought maybe they'd be a good team, but not an undefeated team. They're 6-0. They play an awesome style of football. In fact, I feel like the Patriots and the Niners are kind of similar in the way that they're playing this year. I know I didn't touch on the Patriots before, but that's because I can compare these two. The Niners and the Patriots, both very good defenses. And the Patriots not running the ball as much as they did last year, but they both like to run the ball, both of these teams, especially the Niners. They run the hell out of the ball with a committee of running backs, and they do it very well. But, I mean, then they almost seem unstoppable, both of these teams, with the way that they play, because these defenses are good enough to consistently create turnovers. And when these offenses just stay on the field for long, sustained drives, if you cannot put up points, you're just running out of time. You're running out of time to even try to catch up. Then you're making mistakes, and then they build even more of a lead. So these two teams are honestly, I think, more similar than people might think, especially in their style of play. But I like the 49ers there at the first seed. They may dip. I can see them losing a couple. I don't know how many, but the team under them, the New Orleans Saints, at 6-1. Drew Brees goes down, and Teddy Bridgewater comes in and shows that he's still a starter. The kid he was a kick away from taking the Vikings onto, I want to say that was a championship round. I cannot remember entirely, but it was against the Seahawks. Blair Walsh missed like a 20-yard kick. not really a 20-yard kick, but it wasn't a hard kick. It was a chip shot that he missed that the Vikings could have moved on. Teddy Bridgewater then sustains a horrible injury, career-threatening, and now he's back as backing up Drew Brees. Drew Brees goes down, and Teddy Bridgewater comes in and keeps getting it done. They're not putting up a great amount of points in games. In fact, some of these are defensive battles, which is different for the Saints, which is good for the Saints. That's a very good sign. That's very scary for the rest of the league, especially when Drew Brees comes back. They may end up being the first seed, depending on how things shake up. But then after that, right under them, we have the Green Bay Packers at 6-1, who I also think could be the first seed, because now the Packers also have a defense. And Aaron Rodgers gets to have fun every day with his committee of running backs, Jones and Williams, who are good in each of their own right. Devontae Adams, while he was out last week, Aaron Rodgers, well, this week, I should say, Aaron Rodgers had a perfect passer rating with Devontae Adams out, which is disgusting. It is ridiculous what this man can do when he's having fun. So this is another team that can be first seed. The NFC is a rocking conference right now. It is going to be a lot of fun to see how this shapes up. Right under the Packers are the Seattle Seahawks at 5-2. My main problem with the Seahawks, I think they're a good team. They're a good football team, but it seems like Russell Wilson has to will them to wins way too much. He is the reason why they win some of these games. He is absolutely willing them. In fact, I think it was last week, the Ravens, I want to say it was a Ravens game. No, it wasn't the Ravens. I can't remember which game it was. I'm sorry. But he even said his headset went off. He was calling plays. It was a Browns. Sorry. He was calling plays against the Browns just himself, which, you might not think it's a starting quarterback. He should be able to do that, especially being in the league for a while. But he has no communication with his coaches. They're not telling them what they're seeing, because they're seeing it from a different angle than he is. He is calling these plays, drives down for a crucial touchdown at the beginning of the third quarter. Crucial points that they needed to win that game. And he's able to do that. He is able to create these magical drives for the Seahawks consistently. And the problem is, will it be consistent enough for them after they make the playoffs? Because I firmly believe they're a playoff team. But will he be able to do it in the playoffs for them? He can. But if he doesn't, the game's lost. So Seahawks are a fun team, but it's really the Russell Wilson team. And he can get it done, but that off chance that he doesn't, they're packing and going home. Next, we have the Vikings. The Vikings are 5-2 as well. The Vikings, Kirk Cousins came out and said, I had enough of everyone talking ish about me. I know I didn't perform well, but they paid me this damn money. I have thrown for a lot of yards in multiple seasons on the Redskins. There's a reason why I got paid this money, and I'm going to come out and show you. And Kirk Cousins came out and showed us that defense is very scary as well on the Vikings. But the defense has always been scary in the Vikings. The biggest news is that Kirk Cousins came out and played. He played well, consistently through through weeks. That's good enough. As if he can keep doing it. I mean, you have Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook in the backfield. And then Kyle Rudolph as your tight end. This is a ridiculous offense. It should be firing on all cylinders at all times. So Kirk Cousins should be able to go out there and have great games all the time. And if he can keep doing it, then this team is another scary team in the NFC. Honestly, all these teams can knock each other out, which is the best part about the NFC. But the Vikings, we'll see. We'll see if Kirk Cousins can continuously do it. Stephon Diggs has some drops, which is weird. But if he keeps doing that, then that's going to be tough for them. But with Dalvin Cook there, it's an energized team. He's an incredible running back. We'll see how it goes for them. I hope that Kirk Cousins can continually play well, because then it's just more fun matchups we get to watch. But we'll see. We'll see how it shakes up for them. After that, Carolina Panthers at 4-2. Unfortunately, they would not be able to make it because the Saints are there and the Cowboys are the leaders in the East, they would not be able to make it at 4-2 right now, unless some people drop, unless the Seahawks drop. We'll see. But who would fill out the last playoff spot are actually the Cowboys at 4-3 after their win against the Eagles. The Cowboys, they came in hyped up, dropped 3 straight, and even went to the winless Jets at the time. Not a good look, even after this win against the Eagles. You can say that they're back. It's one win against an Eagles team that's obviously struggling right now. So we'll see how it continues. Dak looks good most of the time. Zeke I don't know. I don't want to sound like everyone else in blaming Jason Garrett, but he's very much of a milquetoast coach. He doesn't really seem to. I mean, Kellen does a lot for them. Kellen play calling seems to be fun when he's having fun, but Jason Garrett himself is a milquetoast coach. He's very vanilla. He doesn't seem to be able to spark the team and make them a Super Bowl winning team, at least not to me. So we'll see how the rest of the Cowboys season goes. We never know. This NFC East division may be a very fun one to watch, even if honestly the winner might be 9-7. But that's how the standings match up right now. Unfortunately, the Panthers at 4-2, who are playing extremely well without Cam Newton and with Kyle Allen starting right now as the backup. Christian McCaffrey is honestly in my MVP talks for a reason. He has been an absolute monster this year. He's honestly the best running back in the NFL right now. I mean, you may want to choose Saquon, but he's hurt. His skill set's unbelievable. But so is Chris McCaffrey's. He's just not as huge as Saquon, but he's able to do everything. We have a joke in our little friend group saying that Chris McCaffrey is the best wide receiver in the NFL. And honestly, if we sat down, we might be able to prove that. But this Panthers team, unfortunately, as it's shaping up right now, if the playoffs started today, they don't make it. And that's really unfortunate for them because they're a pretty good team. They're a pretty damn good team, which honestly I didn't expect from them this year. But those are the NFL standings right now. Those are how everything's shaping up. Honestly, the AFC, like I said before, seems pretty seems like a closed case, honestly. Maybe just a switch up in seedings. I don't see a surge from any of the bottom teams. But we never know. It's the NFL. Anything could happen. The NFC is where a lot of the fun's going to happen. That's where anything can change at any time. And I'm hoping that I'm hoping that we get to week 17 and there are elimination games. Because that's when the NFL is at most fun. That's when you see the real tense moments. But those are our standings. Those are what I think about them right now. And last but not least is how absolutely awful, absolutely terrible the NFL officiating has been this year. And to me, I know Rob Planter and Joe Hackett have talked about this in the playbook. But to me, I feel like the NFL officiating has been so bad because I've always been a fan of only calling the penalties when they're blatant and egregious. Obviously, that doesn't happen sometimes. That's the reason we got the pass interference challenge. But if you only call the penalties when they're blatant and egregious, it has to fill out both of those two criteria. Then you're not. I feel like you're not going to call as many penalties as we've seen. We've seen penalties 7 plays in a row. 7 plays in a row. No one wants to watch that. No one wants to watch the refs play. And we've seen multiple calls that have basically they've switched momentum at the end of the game, or they've made big game-changing calls at the end of the game. And no one wants to see that either. I think everyone likes it better when you let the teams play. Yes, sometimes they do miss calls. But human error is a part of the game. And human error, I feel like, is a lot more tolerated if it's a human error on the part of, okay, we just didn't see that one. Now, not seeing the defensive pass interference in the Saints-Rams game was really bad because that was right in front of him. But not seeing maybe a slight holding call or a very slight or a tap on a QB's helmet is something we can be okay with. It's been a disgrace this year for the NFL and officiating. We've seen way too many flags. We've seen, honestly, no consistency throughout the flags. Like, we'll see one team get flagged and then another team do something extremely similar and then not get flagged. And I know people might want to come in and say maybe it's bias for the team that wasn't flagged. You can say whatever you want. That doesn't matter to me. What does matter is just consistency in general. You're going to want to keep calling things the same way. And I know there's different referee teams, but in the same game, it should be called the same way at least. It's like in baseball, you know the ump's box, you know the strike zone. So if he's calling it tough out there for the pitcher, you know you're going to have to throw more strikes. That's the same thing here. You should know what these refs are going to call instead of just worrying that they're going to flag you for this play because you did something that they might see as a penalty. Because now no one's sure. No one is entirely sure if they're going to be called for a penalty or not. And that's part of the problem. You need consistency. I think you only need to throw it when it's blatant and egregious. And you need to not throw yourselves late in the game. You need to not throw yourselves in there. Please, just keep the flags in your pocket. You should honestly never want to throw that flag. That should never want to come out of your pocket. You should like it in there. It should be nice and snug. It should be taking a nap. You shouldn't want to wake it. Only wake it when you need to. But anyway, I digress. That is the most I'm going to say on the NFL officiating. I think everyone out there can agree that it has been awful this year. Maybe you think differently than me on how they should solve it. I just think letting those flags nap in their pocket is going to be the best thing that they can do. But that is all I have for you guys tonight. I hope you enjoyed this Cuesta Uno rendition of Cuesta Dos. I hope I did well enough for you guys to enjoy. I tried to fill the time. I tried to fill the time for you nicely. Please let me know how I did. Please go and rate the podcast. The podcast is available anywhere you can find it. You can find Sports Opinions on Twitter at SportsOpinion30 and on Instagram, I believe, at the same handle. You can find me on Instagram at Cuesta Cola, and I cannot remember my Twitter, but that doesn't matter. I don't tweet much anyway. Anyway, I hope everyone has a great night. I hope everyone enjoyed listening to this. If you made it this far, thank you very much. Good night.